Hey guys, what's up? 7stop here. Welcome back to another video, and today we are going to be talking about why Revenge of the Sith sucks and it's kind of overrated in this small subsect of the community of Star Wars.
Yeah, well, it's not that small, but it still has quite a few people in it. Like, a bunch of casual people who watch the movies think it's, like, the best Star Wars movie, and there's still a lot of diehard fans who are like, oh, it's my favorite Star Wars movie.
Or it's one of the best.
Yeah.
But in our opinion, there's a lot of flaws with this movie that we want to bring up today.
Now, clearly, it isn't as bad as the other two prequels. It's definitely the best one, but that doesn't make it good.
And I still think it's probably... I'd rather watch it over Rise of Skywalker, I think, but not the other new movies. No. Although maybe... I think I'd rather watch it over Force Awakens.
I think I'd rather watch it over Force Awakens,
but not The Last Jedi.
Yeah. But, like...
Yeah, guys, we like The Last Jedi.
Uh-oh. Looks like we're gonna need to die.
Yeah.
So... we're going to talk about, just why this movie sucks in general and why it's way too overplayed, overhyped, and stuff like that. All right, so first off, we got to address the elephant in the room, okay? The biggest issue with the prequels is the Norwegian subtitles. I think they're clearly inaccurate.
They're clearly inaccurate.
They show off the Norwegian country in a horrible way, and they're just shit.
Starting off with the title crawl, we can see that we've already got off to a bad start. So it says, there are heroes on both sides. But what heroes are on the Separatist side? And for that matter, the Jedi are barely heroes anyway. Yeah. There's really not many heroes at all in this story.
No, and then it says their evil is everywhere. So if there are heroes, then that means they're evil. So they're not really heroes.
If there's heroes on both sides, then... Are evil people heroes? I don't think they're considered heroes. But it says there's evil everywhere, so that would imply that there's evil on both sides, but there are also heroes on both sides.
Yeah, so I think what they're struggling to say is just simply that both sides are corrupt. Yeah, like that's what they're struggling to say. But
like both sides, this is something that's not really explored in the actual prequels, but in the Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, it actually explored that. The Separatists have a real reason to dislike the Republic, and the Republic has a real reason to dislike the Separatists. And I think that's what they're trying to hint at in this title crawl. But that wasn't really established well in the movie, so we don't understand it.
Oh gosh, General Grievous in a stunning move. Yeah. Oh wow, I was really stunned by that, Nico. Holy cow. I was really stunned by that.
Yeah, the definition of a hero is a person who is admired or idealized for courage, outstanding achievements, or noble qualities. What noble qualities do the Sith have? Killing innocent civilians? What noble qualities do the Jedi have? Being impassive and feeling no emotion?
Well, the most noble quality of the Sith is
unlimited power! Well, the dialogue is certainly better than Episode 1 and 2.
I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough and irritating, and it gets everywhere. Not like here. Here everything is soft and smooth.
There's still some dialogue moments that are not as good. And most of the time, like, looking at the script of the dialogue and stuff, there are still some good moments, and there are moments that are pretty much just passable, nothing outstanding. But the thing is, they don't feel real. Like, for example, Obi-Wan says to Palpatine,
Chancellor Palpatine, Sith Lords are our speciality.
So, as seen in that clip, he says that Sith Lords are a speciality. But in the Clone Wars, we see him fight the Sith, but not in the movies.
But it was never established in the prequels. So how do we know Sith Lords are his speciality if he's only fought two of them? Darth Maul and Count Dooku are the only Sith Lords we've seen him fight.
That's it.
So how are they his speciality? It's that sort of dialogue that's memeable and sounds kind of neat on the surface, but when you actually think about it, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, and they say it like in an epic and cool way. Well, even then, like... he said it in an unrealistic way. Like, that's what happens with most of this dialogue. Even if it's not necessarily bad, they say it in a way that isn't, like, human or something like that.
The acting is not well directed.
Like, I would never go up to my friend, that my friend would be like, oh gosh, you don't have a chance against this guy. Like, if I went up against a boss in a game, my friend says, like, oh, you're not prepared for that.
Our father is my speciality.
Yeah, I won't say so. Yeah, I won't say like Nikos Pagnola. I don't know if I want to say her name, but whatever. Like I won't say Chancellor Palpatine. Sith Lords are my speciality, or I won't say so and so. Bosses are my speciality. It's just unreal. I wouldn't say that.
It's silly. At least there's some good memes in this movie.
Yeah, the memes are the best part. Like, unlimited power. He's too dangerous to be left alive. The Senate.
The dialogue and acting is definitely way better than the other two movies, but this movie still has some of the cringiest moments in the prequel trilogy.
Yeah, you underestimate my power. I would never say that to my friend.
Yeah.
I would never be like, you
wouldn't say that to
my power.
your friend.
Or, well, I wouldn't say that
You say
to
that in
anybody.
any context.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that ever. I wouldn't be like, oh, you underestimate my
Or
power.
you'd say it with like a little bit of enthusiasm in your voice.
Or I would say, like, you underestimate me, something like that. I wouldn't just say, like, they have a
They
tendency...
speak in ways that no one ever would.
Yeah, or they describe something they're going to do. Like Mace Windu says, I'm going to end this once and for all.
Yeah.
It's like, I would never be like, all right, Nico, I'm going to end this PlayStation 4 once for all. Unless
Why
I was
would you
joking.
tell someone you're going to kill them?
Yeah.
Just kill them.
Unless I was joking, obviously. But, and also he says, the oppression of the Sith will never return.
Oh my god,
You
his
have
acting
lost.
is so bad there. The oppression of the Sith. It's like an accent or something.
Yeah, the oppression of the Sith.
The oppression of the Sith.
You have lost, and it's just like so bland and forgettable. Like, wait a second, how did this happen? We're smarter than this. I feel like it'd be like a kid's cartoon. Like,
Yeah.
Dora would be like, "Where do I go next?"
The effects in this movie are way better than the other two movies, and the action even is better, which we're going to criticize later, don't worry. But we think the action is better than the other two prequel movies, and the effects are also better. Same with the cinematography, but I mean, that's not saying much. But anyway, even though the effects are better, they're still not that great. There's once again an over-reliance on CG. Everything has to be rendered in a computer. You can't stand in a real hallway. You have to stand in a green screen room.
The rooms have to be all green screen.
Yeah,
and stuff like
it's
that.
still much better than the other prequels, but it's not good by any means.
No.
It's much better in the original trilogy because everything was made practically, at least most everything was made practically, and they had models and all this stuff. And I know they had models for the prequels also, but still, it just looks much more fake than the originals.
Another thing that this movie has an issue with is CGI bodies and like parts and limbs and stuff.
Like when Palpatine turns into a CGI guy, it looks
and
so
it's
weird.
Like, and he's fighting and like again, we'll get to the action later, but still, there's like some really bad like moments of just they take a person and they make them full CGI, or they take their, like
2005 wasn't ready for that.
No.
Have you seen The Matrix Reloaded?
Oh my gosh, it's so bad.
Yeah. Looks like a video game on the PS2.
It does. But other than that, so as you said, some of the effects look good. The lightsabers look fine. The rooms look a little bit more convincing, but they're still like fake. It still feels like
you
they're
can still
plastic.
tell like it's in some weird alternate reality dream world. It almost feels like nothing's actually happening because it all looks so fake.
And the lighting especially.
The lighting is
CGI
super
rooms.
flat.
And I will have to compliment this, as this has never been an issue for any Star Wars movie. It's the music. The music is fantastic.
This movie has some of the best Star Wars music, in my opinion.
Yeah, Battle of the Heroes, March on the
March on the Jedi Temple. Really good songs.
Yeah, they're really good, and they have they're scored excellency. My excellency. No, they're scored excellently, and they complement the tone really well.
If only. Whenever I listen to the music, I always think if only the movie were as good as this music.
Yeah, exactly. And so moving on to like the bulk of the movie, scenes and the plot. So what happens is the plot is pretty basic. The beginning scene, it's lots of people say that this is the best part of the movie, the beginning scene. I always thought it was just it was okay. I feel like it would be in one of the more forgettable Clone Wars arcs.
Yeah.
I would like probably forget about it. I'd be like
the battle and stuff. The moment when he slices off Count Dooku's head is pretty good.
Pretty good, yeah. That's nice. But the thing is, Count Dooku, like, he's erased so quickly. He's
I know. It's like, holy crap, we need to get rid of this.
Yeah. They're like, holy cow, alright. And then
we need to backpedal on all the mistakes we made.
We need to get rid of him. And, like, I don't know why, but Count Dooku in the Clone Wars, he was, like, so much more of, like, a diplomat and stuff like that. But in this show, and he always had a reason for doing something. Like he would lure Anakin in, or he would get orders from Palpatine. But in this movie, he just kind of like, all right, lightsaber time. Yeah, cue the fight. But And Anakin's character, it's a good scene for him because he's transitioning to the dark side. But then this will come into play later. But he says that's not the Jedi way. But we'll get to that later.
Oh yeah, that's not the Jedi way.
But
yeah, because Palpatine says slice off his head or whatever.
Yeah,
he goes, that's not the Jedi way. But we'll see how that plays in later.
Yeah.
When he does something that's so obviously not the Jedi way.
Again, meme relevance there. Do it. Fantastic. Amazing.
Yeah, funny meme, but not a good line,
But
and
not a good
really
line.
cringy
Do
in actuality. Like if you think about it,
Yeah. Do it.
the way he says it is so cringy.
And also, like, R2 just kind of there for no reason.
Yeah.
Like, he's just kind of
He just lights some guys on
lights
fire.
some guys on fire, calls the elevator and stuff. Like, literally, what's the point of them messing around in the elevator?
I don't know.
Like, literally, they're
Just
like,
to make the
go
movie
up,
longer.
Whoops, go down. Yeah, to make the movie longer and to add filler and stuff. But after this part, we pretty much just go to
Rooms.
rooms of characters talking to each other and talking about
Yeah,
what needs
everyone's
to happen,
favorite
what we
thing,
need to do, what's
political
next,
talk and Lucas
blah, blah,
dialogue.
blah. Me when I have to watch the political dialogue in Revenge of the Sith.
What fun! What fun!
A huge chunk of this movie is just talking and stuff like that. So the last half of the first act and the entire second act is just them walking around talking. Jedi Council, I'd like you to be my representative on the council. Or I'd like to spy on the Chancellor. Blah blah blah. I'd like to do all this stuff. We need you to go do this. Hey, do this mission. This sucks. Blah blah blah. Political dialogue. Oh, the war's gonna continue.
And it doesn't manage to make it interesting. Like some episodes of the Clone Wars make it interesting, but it's really not interesting in this movie.
No, because what they do is they talk about it as if it's epic and cool. They're like, oh no, we gotta protect the gamer time, and like, oh no, you gotta go capture Grievous. But in reality, it's just kind of like, whatever. I don't even know. I was
Yeah.
going for that. But yeah, as I said, the second act is just full of Anakin talking to Palpatine and like, oh hey, I need help. And Palpatine's like, oh man, I'm gonna coax you to the dark side some more. And then it's like more council meetings and them like being like, oh, we're not gonna have you be on the council. And then Anakin talks to Padme and stuff like that. And while some of it's neat, like I think it's interesting how like the Jedi Council is kind of being a little bit rude to Anakin and stuff. They still pull it off in the most boring, monotone way. Like, the characters aren't doing anything interesting. They're just sitting around in chairs, talking. They're, like, walking. Like, literally half of the movie is Anakin and Obi-Wan sticking their arms through their little, like, coat, cape things, walking around, talking about what's going on and how their day was. No, I've disappointed you and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's some good scenes, like the tragedy of Darth Plagueis the Wise. But,
memeable and good scene.
But overall, it's pretty lame and drags a lot.
Yeah, it drags a lot of the movie, and it's not. I don't understand how people can like this. Like, I don't.
So now we're going to talk about the action, which is one of our favorite things to make fun of in this movie. Because it's probably better than the action in the other movies, especially Episode 2. Episode 1 had the Darth Maul fight scene. So that probably redeems it, but oh boy. The fight at the end of Episode 2. They're not twirling their lightsabers up above their heads for no reason anymore, but they're twirling their lightsabers in other ways that make no sense.
So let's talk about the first lightsaber fight between Dooku and Anakin. It's fine, passable, kind of boring because there's no character.
There's no tension. There's tension in the Clone Wars, but there's no tension from the prequels.
No. And then moving on to the Obi-Wan and Grievous. Oh boy. So, just gonna give you some preface.
Yeah, this was one of the most disappointing fights rewatching the movie because
rewatched
I was
all
like,
of them.
oh yeah, the forearms lightsaber fight. Oh, this is gonna be epic.
Yeah, I remember it when I was a kid. I was like, oh, I remember it being cool and stuff like that. So I'm sure we were expecting a lot. Well, maybe not a lot, but we were expecting something.
A little bit more than what we got.
Yeah. So what we get is a bunch of close-up shots with Grievous's face and Obi-Wan's face. But the thing is, the lightsabers, and since I know the forearms is cool and all, but sometimes they just get in the way. So it's just a bunch of like lightsabers.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of
around.
colors and lights, and they try to show close-ups of the characters' faces, but the characters are still battling when they're showing close-ups. In the Clone Wars, when they want to show someone's face during a battle, they usually aren't fighting when that happens.
No, it's usually
or
like
it's framed like a medium, so you can still see what the characters are doing with their arms
Instead of a
and their
close-up
lightsabers.
shot.
But when it's a close-up shot, it just looks like a bunch of meaningless lights and colors are flashing in front of their face, and you can't understand what's actually happening in the fight.
Yeah, and then when we slowed it down, we saw Obi-Wan at one point, like, Grievous and Obi-Wan, they clash, and then for some reason, his lightsaber, like, it's pretty much taken, like, I take a stick and I poke it into the wall, but for some reason, it phases through the wall, like, and Obi-Wan slices his hand, and then it phases through the lightsaber and cuts his arm off.
Yeah.
Which, another thing that's disappointing is that he loses 2 arms, and then that's it, the fight's over.
Yeah,
Like, it goes by
you don't
so
get to
quick.
see him do anything with those forearms, really.
No.
He just does the move
Spinning.
from Battlefront 2, and
Yeah.
then he gets his arms cut off.
Yeah, he just kind of, like, flies around, and Obi-Wan jumps over.
And there's
like,
so many points in the choreography where the characters leave themselves open to attack without defending.
because they want to do a
Yeah.
cool move or something like that.
And you can nitpick a lot of fights in this way, but it's one thing when there's nothing, when like the fight sucks, but there's nothing else going on.
Yeah, like, I honestly...
There's nothing going on between the characters.
Yeah, Darth Vader v. Obi-Wan, even though it has really bad choreography of them just kind of poking sticks, I care about the characters because it's like, oh, Darth Vader is previous master and stuff like that. Oh, this is getting really intense.
It's interesting.
But again, I watched the Clone Wars, so there's tension, but, well, even then there is no tension because they aren't the same characters.
Yeah, they don't act or look or act or behave or anything in the same way as the Clone Wars.
And then moving on to the final fight between Obi-Wan and Anakin. So their fight it's good. It's fine.
I mean, it's
choreographed.
overly choreographed to the point of absurdity, as Chris Stuckman said.
Yeah,
It's
like,
kind of ridiculous.
and even though it's the Jedi at their height of the power, yeah, but they're still trying to kill each other. It's
Yeah,
like, it's not
it's
like
they're dancing instead of killing each other.
Yeah, it's like,
look
even
at the
though-
fight in Episode 5 with Luke and Vader. They're just hacking and fighting and slamming their lightsabers together in a way that looks like a real fight. But in Episode 3, it's just the duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan just looks like a dance.
Yeah.
You can tell that someone obviously choreographed. Okay, spin around here in this way, and then hit your lightsabers together. It doesn't seem like two people trying to kill each other.
no. Which again, Obi-Wan probably wouldn't kill Anakin, but at the same time, Anakin would because he's Darth Vader now. But the thing is, he never attempts it. Like, obviously, there's the one part in the middle where Anakin's about to choke Obi-Wan, but obviously, you know, he's gonna get out of it. All right, so yeah, Yoda versus Palpatine. It's fine. I don't know. It's
One of the better fights.
Yeah, it's one of the better fights. It's just like it's kind of neat to see Yoda do the flips and stuff, but at the same time, it's like Yoda's flipping. Like, what?
Yeah.
See, the Clone Wars is able to get away with this because the character Yoda feels like Yoda. Like
And
he
he's
actually-
animated.
Yeah, and he's animated, which gives it a slight edge. But yeah, Yoda's animated, and he also says more stuff that actually sounds like Yoda. Yoda's supposed to be this, like, jolly old, like, crazy guy, but in the prequels, he's just kind of like, go, I will. Good relations with the Wookiees I have. It's like,
I totally
okay.
forgot how silly Yoda's
Yeah,
character
like,
was
because
until
he's
I
so
rewatched
little.
Episode 5.
Yeah, Yoda's character is supposed to be super silly and awesome and stuff like that. But in Episode 3 and all the prequels, honestly, he's just kind of like, go, I will, blah, 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 sit in chairs, blah, blah, blah. That's a path to the dark side. Do not miss your train, for that is a path to the dark side. Fear leads to anger leads to the trains, which is a path to the dark side.
Yeah.
He just says all this random stuff about how be careful, be careful, you're gonna die and stuff. But so the fight isn't that interesting because we don't care about Yoda, and Palpatine is just power.
Oh, yeah.
Just kinda
the fight
goofy.
with Palpatine and the Jedi. It's
Oh,
one of the
gosh,
worst
yeah,
fights
never
in the
mind.
series.
Forgot about that one. We gotta mention that one. It's awfully choreographed. He takes out the other Jedi. They were like literally. This is how it went during shooting. All right, I'll be the director. I'll be George Lucas, and Nico will be the producer who's like who can't fight anything.
George, we have 4 Jedi on this set. We can't have them all fight him. He'll
Oh.
obviously die. This Ian McDiarmid can't spin around that quick. He's an old man.
Well, we need that. We need those Jedi. They're important. Okay, so please just keep them anyway, and you could just kill them.
Okay,
off
we'll
and
just
all.
kill 'em off.
Yeah. Okay. Well, they're important.
Yeah, you just kill him off in 10 seconds, so it just turns into a 1v1 anyway.
Oh, okay.
That sucked. We're not putting that in the video.
No, get rid of it. We need to. Oh man, where are we gonna put this Mace Windu fight in? So as we said earlier, yeah, Yoda's like supposed to be really like funny and interesting character, but when he fights Sidious, it's kind of interesting because it's like, oh hey, the Yoda versus the Emperor, like this is a pretty big deal. But at the same time, they have no previous like major interactions. What's happened before is like Palpatine's just like, Master Yoda, do you really think it'll go to war? And he's like, I don't know. That's pretty much it.
There's a good line in here. Oh, if so powerful you are, why leave? Yeah.
And I said it's still decently choreographed, and I do love the part where they're like using the Force against each other, and like they're forcing around the platforms, like they're dismantling the Senate, like symbolically they're dismantling the current like power structure.
But it always confused me how the fight ends, because when the fight ends, Yoda's not really even hurt that much. He just falls to the floor. He still has his lightsaber. It like falls with him, I'm pretty sure. So he could easily just go and continue fighting, but instead he runs away. Why doesn't he why doesn't he continue to fight the Sith Lord right there? I mean, he's like, you can see that Palpatine is kind of exhausted from that fight, and he's like hanging on to the side of the podium or whatever.
Yeah, Yoda could literally just take a little platform and force it up and then boom, knock him off.
But instead of continuing the fight, he just leaves and allows like an evil empire to rule the galaxy for years instead of just fighting him there. What if he won? Everything would have changed.
Yeah, but in the animated fight, the animated fight is pulled off really well because there's other stuff going on. Yoda's being tested through this trial.
He's talking about the Clone Wars.
Yeah, and he's like, this the fate of the Clone Wars, it's way more symbolic. And I said, like, it looks really good animated. It just looks way better. I don't know how they got it off. I said maybe it's because of the character, but that's pretty much it for the fighting section.
So definitely one of the worst fights in this movie is with Palpatine and the Jedi and
Mace Windu.
Yeah, Mace Windu. It's really poorly choreographed.
Mace Windu.
Mace Windu. And you can tell like they've got Ian McDiarmid and he doesn't really know what he's supposed to do. No. And he's just making these weird faces.
And he's just like, he's making all these weird faces and stuff. And they're like these three other Jedi that come with them, but they get killed immediately. So it's like, what's the point in having them? I guess like George Lucas just wanted them there. Like they knew for a fact that they can't choreograph 4 people, so why have them there?
Yeah, I know. And those 4 people could have killed him.
Yeah.
He's occupied with one, like stabbing him. The others could have attacked him, but instead they just stand there and watch their friends get cut up.
It's to show how powerful he is, or like that one.
But he doesn't. You don't get the impression that he's a powerful Sith Lord. You get the impression that he's an old man with a rod and swinging it around. Face. Yes. And he's on a CGI body.
Yeah,
sometimes
that happens a lot.
That happens a lot in this movie. We mentioned it earlier. Like characters have CGI bodies. Like there's this one part in the Anakin v Obi-Wan fight where Anakin turns into the CGI monstrosity and launches across the table.
And then like
and then Ian McDiarmid turns into CGI here and it like jumps onto this thing around Mace Windu. I'll put it up in the video so you can see.
And he like jumps on this little platform.
And it looks really bad.
And like another thing is there's this one part where Mace Windu's like and he like has his arms out like this, and Palpatine has his lightsaber pointed at him.
But he doesn't stab him.
All Palpatine needs to do is walk forward a few feet.
Yeah.
But no,
and Mace Windu is leaving his whole body exposed while there's a lightsaber within inches of his chest. It's so stupid. Mm-hmm. Isn't that supposed to be the most powerful Jedi swordsman or something?
Yeah. And another thing is, there's no emotion. Like you could say, like Palpatine and the Chancellor and Mace Windu never really got along, and now it's finally boiled over. But even then, it's not really much of a. They never really had much butting heads. Mace Windu was just kind of like,
they barely ever interacted. Their interactions were separate. Like Palpatine would judge the Jedi Council to Anakin, and then Mace Windu would talk about how much he disliked Palpatine and in the Jedi Council and to Anakin, but they never had any direct confrontation, really.
No, they've never had direct confrontation, and as I said, it happened in previous scenes where they're just kind of standing around and talking. Also, no characters in this movie are likable.
Yeah.
Because this is going to lead into my next point, but no characters are likable. Padme, I don't care about her. Obi-Wan, I don't care about him because he's like, they're doing their job, we are doing ours. Like, he doesn't care about the clones and stuff like that. So we're supposed to see Anakin as this good person. He's actually cares about the clones. But then, when Mace Windu has Palpatine, and he's like, the oppression of the Sith will never return, and stuff like that, he's like, that's not the Jedi way. Well, Anakin's set up to be this good character. But then he goes instantly bad because it's not the Jedi way. Buddy, that's a little bit hypocritical there.
Yeah, he did something that wasn't the Jedi way earlier when he cut off Count Dooku's head.
But we're supposed
he
to
literally
see-
said, when Palpatine urged him on, he literally said, that's not the Jedi way. And then he did it anyway. But here he's like, you can't kill Palpatine because that's not the Jedi way. But yet, he defends it that time. What's the difference?
Yeah, and I said, like, he's supposed to be the character we root for because all the other characters are unlikable, I guess. I don't know. It's confusing because they don't make anybody likable.
Yeah.
All these just bland characters are really rude to each other. Like, honestly, that's the thing. They're really rude to each other. Like, Obi-Wan's like, is he not to bring balance to the Force? And he's like, so the prophecy says, if you believe that, idiot, Obi-Wan. Gosh.
Most of the plot of this movie is really boring and uninteresting. Like, they'll go to a place and have a random battle, and you don't feel any stakes to it because the villains were never really established except for Palpatine.
But even then, he was like, he wasn't, like, in the Clone Wars, he has way more character development and stuff like that. But, yeah, I said, like, we already talked about how in the middle, nothing really goes, like, literally nothing goes on. There's no quest. There's no goal. There's no point. They're like, okay, we need to end the war.
Yeah.
Let's just kind of hang around.
The only parts where the plot really excels are Order 66 and the very ending. Like, I loved you, Anakin. You were a brother. That part was really good. Except they ruined it with no
at the very end of the movie. And again, by the way, just a side note, you were my brother, Anakin. They never even had any friendship in anything.
Except in the Clone Wars. We keep saying the Clone Wars, the Clone Wars, Clone Wars. Clone Wars, they had friendship. Yeah. But the Clone Wars wasn't out, so there's no reason to expect people to know about that.
We're told that
this is
they're
the prequels.
best friends. Yeah, we're told that they're best friends. Like, I've disappointed you at the, like, near that part where they're like, and the kid's like, I've disappointed you, and he's like, Obi-Wan's like, you're strong and wise, blah blah blah. That's kind of like that scene from Episode 1 where Qui-Gon Jinn goes, oh, you're far wiser than me, but then why didn't you listen to him? It's like you admitted that he's wiser and makes better decisions, but you don't listen to him.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, near the end the plot's good, but near the beginning it's just kind of mindless wandering around. Nothing much happens. Oh, go do this thing so we could have a Grievous lightsaber fight and stuff like that. Whereas in Episode 5, stuff was constantly happening. All right, they have to continue to take out the Empire. Luke needs to get training. All right, he needs to go get training. Obi-Wan told him, hey, you need to go get training. Leia and Han, the hyperdrive's broken, so they need to get it fixed. But in the meantime, they get to, like, their relationship developed and stuff like that. The plot actually makes sense and stuff happens, but stuff happens for a reason rather than just like, boom, you need to do this.
Yeah.
So
well, that's our thoughts on Revenge of the Sith. Please go rage in the comments or whatever. We know a lot of people like this movie, and there's some good things about it, but we think it's probably more bad than good, honestly. There's a lot of really bad things in this movie.
Yeah, like I said, there's still some good stuff. Like it still is the best prequel. All right, we like Episode 1,
and we still like
it
more than 2 of the sequels.
Yeah, and it's still like we'd rather watch it than the 2 of the sequels. And like honestly, I'd rather watch it over like Justice League and Suicide Squad and like a bunch of these other movies that are coming out. Yeah, a bunch of DC movies and these like trash action movies like Gemini Man and stuff like that. We'd rather watch it than that, but in the end, it still isn't the best Star Wars movie like tons of people make it out to be.
I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching, and if you want to see more epic videos like this, please subscribe to the channel.
For more
unlimited power.